trans activists on Twitter are out of fucking control, and they're hurting every movement they're a part of. They're making normal trans people look, well, okay. Okay. You got to understand. There are trans people that mind their own business, right? There are people just like, I feel like I'm a woman. Now, once again, I would make it very clear. I do think being trans is a mental illness. It's obvious that it is. You're a guy that thinks they're a girl.
You know, the most insane thing about the facts and logic people is that they don't actually know what the facts and the logic is. Like, they don't know what the facts are. They don't know what logic is. So they can't actually utilize any of them to their advantage, because that's not what a mental illness is. Definitionally, that is not what a mental illness is. That's not what a mental disorder is. They did the same thing with gay people back in the day. This is just, they're using the same targeted attacks, that like being gay is a mental illness. It's the same exact thing here. Which, by the way, spoiler alert, he makes this argument, by the way. And that's not what mental illness is. Mental illness has to impair your life in some way that is meaningful for it to be classified a mental illness. That innately, even if a society is accepting of you, that it causes something distressing in you that impedes your ability to live life. That is required in the definition of like a mental illness or a mental disorder. Let's watch.
Right? That's in your brain. That fucking happens. Okay? It's the same thing with like, I'm a dude and I want to fuck dudes, right? Like naturally we are human beings where our entire existence is supposed to procreate, which is man have sex with woman, make baby. That's our entire lineage, right? That's entirety like what we are, right? But our brains are wired differently. And when people's brains are wired differently, normally those things are considered mental illnesses unless social media says, well, it's really.
That's not what a mental illness is. First of all, let's talk about a couple things. Number one, homosexuality has been around for forever. We're not even going to talk about trans people. He was stupid enough to bring gay people into this, which was like a terrible rhetorical decision. So let's just talk about homosexuality. Homosexuality is found in like how many species? It's an obscene number of species that just be fucking and sucking. And it doesn't matter what the gender is. Second, it's been around in humanity for thousands of years. For quite literally thousands of years. Yeah, mental illness is in fact not when you deviate from unga bunga caveman mindset. It has a very specific definition. And for the people that seem to care a lot about what is a biological woman and what is a biological man, and I'm just following what the textbook says. I'm just saying what actually is based in reality. Hey, fucking stupid. That's not what a mental illness is. A mental illness is not when you are not a caveman that cares about what procreation. A mental illness has to be something that causes you some type of distress, innately is the key word there, and that it impairs your ability to function and do basic daily tasks. If a society is accepting of gay people, we don't discriminate against gay people. There's nothing wrong with being gay. No one is ever made fun of or rejected or is not given the same access as other people because they're gay. I know this is shocker, but actually there's no distress. There's no unique distress from being gay. There is no medical research that suggests that. None. None. And the reason why what he's saying makes no sense is because besides the fact that mental illness is not when unga bunga caveman, or the lack thereof, is that we have biologists and sociologists on the case on this stuff, on like why homosexuality exists, just like in general. And it is almost certainly that we use touch because we're social creatures. We use touch, we use physical affection, and we use attraction or sex as a bonding method. That we bond, human beings can infinitely bond. As many people, as many animals, you bond with your family members, you bond with your partners, you bond with your pets. We bond with objects, dude. Like, that is how fucked human beings are. We anthropomorphize everything. I don't fuck those things, though. That's not what I said. You just decided to add that in there for some bizarre reason. That's not what I said. We're talking about human beings enjoying bonding with things. And guess what? You bond more, or there is a tendency to bond more with people that you're platonically attracted to, but then also, in some cases, even more so to people that you are sexually attracted to human beings that you're sexually attracted to. Because for a lot of people, having sex with someone is a very intimate action that lets you bond with those people. You get like a rush of dopamine from it. So currently, the current hypothesis among scientists is that homosexuality is just like a normal way that like human beings and other animals with each other, but that human beings bond with other human beings. That's it. That's it. There's nothing else there. The other problem with this idea that like sex is only used for procreation and for no other reason, and so it's a mental illness to be attracted to what someone of the same sex, makes absolutely no sense, because human beings bond for life. I mean, we currently created this nuclear family that conservatives love to say is the natural way that human beings should be, that we should be, that it should be a man and a woman under God, no premarital sex forever. Is it not then a mental illness to keep procreating with what, women in menopause? Is it not then mental illness to procreate with women or men who can't have kids? Is that mental illness too? Like, the definition that he's using for mental illness makes no fucking sense. It's mental illness to be attracted to hot, sexy moms, to be in the MILF category, actually. That's mental illness. That's not, it's just not. People are not driven by the desire to procreate and have more kids. It's that having sex without protection leads to having kids, and sex is something that's very pleasurable, and so humanity can continue to exist because these two things happen to align. You're tying in, I mean, like, he's talking about it as if it's like intelligent design, when in reality it's happenstance. And it happens to be the case that the best way to extend the longevity of a species is to make the thing that causes longevity of a species tied to something very positive that people enjoy, that people reach out for. Humanity isn't around because we love the idea of having kids and we're only attracted to the idea of procreating. Humanity's around for so long because having sex is fun and people like having sex. And having sex also happens to lead to having kids. That's it. Like, this, there's something so offensive about someone being like, Darwinism, am I right? And then has no understanding of any of these concepts at all. Like, at all, even a little. What if you had to take an exam to have kids and instead of have sex, because no one have sex anymore? Exactly. Yeah. Like, this is what I mean. If it was necessary for people to read a book before they could have kids, which, depending on the book, honestly, may be potentially based. But if it was required for people, like, the only thing that you had to do to have kids was to read one specific book, like How to Influence and Win Over People, whatever the fuck. Pick any book. I don't care. I literally don't pick a book. Pick a book, any book. The Bible. Oh God, the Bible would can you imagine if you tied like having kids to the Bible? You would see the birth rate drop to 0. Sorry, no, like 3, okay? No, we don't have sex because we love the idea of having kids. We have sex because sex is fun to have. It just happens to also have this other side effect. And guess what? Species that have very positive associations with the things that cause procreation get to live out. And the ones that don't. Side effect is crazy. I mean, it is. If it was tied to reading the Bible, Christians would be having the least children out of any group. Dude, atheists would be having so many kids. Okay. Yeah, this is like, I mean, it's just so fucking nonsensical, dude. It's just so nonsensical. Having sex for any reason outside of wanting kids is mental illness. Great strategy, dude. Great play. Excellent display of intellectualism. Just wonderful. Really good. Really good.
Mean to call those things mental illnesses. It doesn't matter if it's mean. Your brains are wired differently than what a normal human being's is, which is why we call those outliers mental illnesses. That is what happens.
No, that's actually, again, the people who love to point at like third grade biology textbooks and say, that's just what it says a man is. I'm not the one that's making the book. That's what, dude, like you can, it's free. Wikipedia is free. Look it up, dude. Mental illness has to impede your life or impede your, like, your ability to function in a meaningful way to be considered illness, to be considered mental illness. That's why you can have symptoms of something, but you can't get a diagnosis because it doesn't impact your life in a meaningful way, right?
Don't you understand that Tectone is an example of a normal human being?
Guy who definitely knows what normal means, telling us about normalcy. Literally, my first lecture for psychopathology, we were told not to determine mental illness by how rare something is. Yeah. Like, I have OCD tendencies. Definitely have curbed a lot of the behavior, but it doesn't impact my life in a meaningful way or a meaningful enough way to ever warrant an OCD diagnosis. Because it's just like, I have compulsions and the compulsions are not meaningful enough to impact my life in a meaningful enough way, right? Damn straight Denims. Shout out to all the functioning gamblers. No. No. My real actual analysis is that we hamstring society by teaching biology as a real science in elementary school, but psychology as a political science. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Right. There's a lot of trans people that just mind their own business. Nobody fucking cares. The problem is the people who are going into, you know, the social media threads trying to cancel everybody that doesn't use their proper pronouns, going into stores, breaking property, getting waiters fired because they're not using their proper pronouns, and they're just making everybody look horrible because those are the people that they're making the figureheads who, instead of trans being a product of their identity, trans becomes their entirety of their identity. And that's when people start being like, wow, these people are fucking ridiculous.
Dude, saying that is like a gotcha gamer is very funny.
If your sexuality or your nationality becomes your entire personality, you are going to make everybody else look horrible. Anyways, let's keep going here.
In my opinion,
He's talking about the trans woman rage baiter. I know that this is like a crazy concept, but like, how about if you're a tourist, you don't fucking comment on things you know nothing about? The gaming community loves to be like, you guys don't play this game. Shut the fuck up. You've never been invested in gacha games and spending obscene amounts of money on anime girls. Stop telling us what anime girls we're allowed to spend money on and how bald a female protagonist can be. Don't fucking you don't even play these games. And it's like also like people who do play these games. And then the guy who can't define mental illness, who thinks having sex outside of the desire to procreate is mental illness, which makes no sense. And there is no science to back up that statement at all. That same guy who has never engaged with the trans community in a meaningful way ever in his entire life has the audacity to be like, you know, this is what I think the trans community should do. Can you imagine if I got on stream and said, like, gotcha games should not have any girls in them or women in them ever again? Can you imagine the shitstorm that would cause? I would be, like, branded as, like, the demon of the 21st century. It's like, how could you ever say that? You don't even play gotcha games. It's like, what? Huh? Also, yeah, making your nationality your whole background or like your whole personality. And then he has the American flag in his background. Constantly talks about veterans. Yeah. Also, is there not something like unbelievably rich about like the guy who says you should only have sex for procreation and everything else is a mental illness, calling women blowjob machines? Like, you couldn't write more on the nose satire. It's just incredible. It's just really incredible stuff here. We're just like not engaging at all in the universe that we live in, even remotely. All right. Yep. All right. Okay. Yeah. Liking head, you have mental illness. You are literally mentally ill if you like when your partner gives you head. That's mental illness. Yeah. Enjoying a blowjob is mental illness. It's true. It's true. Yep. This guy said it. Said it himself. And then I'm fucked up. Take me into an institution then. Oh God, dude. Oh my God. And then I also saw like an Asmongold tweet. I'm like struggling to find it right now, but there was an Asmongold tweet as well that was like shitting on trans people. I know, shocking, right? A shocking turn of events. It's like, dude, there is no queer community without trans people. Okay, this isn't like a fucking queer buffet where we can just pick and choose which queer people we'd like to represent, which ones we don't want to. That's not how this works. That's not the game we're playing, okay? Asman says transgenders should be removed from the LGBT, making it just an LGBT community. He says other groups are sexualities, whereas transgenderism is an identity. Like literally, who fucking asked? Who omega lol? Who asked? That's nice. Opinion, straight person, opinion discarded.
The LGB is mostly fine. You're right. Trans is the main issue that people have a problem with. That
they're literally actively trying to repeal gay marriage today. Conservatives are actively trying to appeal to the Supreme Court to overturn the landmark same-sex case. Like, I know I post this comic all the time, but man, has there ever been if there ever was a more relevant time to post it. The Newswire Twitter account posted, U.S. Supreme Court asked to overturn landmark same-sex marriage ruling, and I posted this comic again. Shout out Adam Tots. Like, this idea that, no, it's just the trans people that are causing all the hubbub, and if we just, come on, shoo, it would go away on its own. No, you know what we need to get rid of? From, like, public discourse, from, like, talking about these issues, from caring about their opinions. We need to stop bringing on people onto fucking CNN to be like, we need no more trans people, and then everything will be good. No, then we'll just fucking revert back to hating gay people, which we already do. No. I'm sorry. There's no universe where queer people should drop trans people because it's too inconvenient. And also, trans people have been there from fucking day one, dude. This is why those Dave Chappelle jokes about trans people weren't funny as well. Dude, that Dave Chappelle bit was... That special was so brutal. It was like the jokes when he wasn't making jokes about trans people, they were really funny. And then as soon as he got to the trans jokes, it was like, dude, stop. It's not even funny.
That is the main issue. It's not gay. It's certainly not bi. And it's absolutely not lesbians. It's trans. That's where all of the hostility, all of the negativity comes from. Yes, and trans should not be involved with LGBT. There should not be an LGBT. LGBT. It should just be LGB. Trans is how you see yourself. Bisexual, being gay, being a lesbian is how you see other people. Being trans is not a sexuality. All three of the other ones are sexualities. It's that simple. Yeah, trans is a big problem. Well, I don't know about being a big problem. I don't think it's a big problem. What I'm saying is, like, the trans issues are, they're much more divisive, and they're much more like, people have like much stronger feelings on the trans issues than
Oh, they have much stronger feelings. You know who else had really strong feelings about something? Slave owners, about slaves. You don't get to say, well, this issue is really like divisive. This whole like, should we free those people that are, you know, sentient human beings that don't deserve to be enslaved? But the problem is we shouldn't care because it's a really divisive issue and people feel really passionately about it. You know, like we need to care about we need to care about the facts, not the feelings. Accept the feelings of the people in positions of power, and then we can care about those people. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they do about gay issues or something like that. Obviously, there's some people that don't like any of it, but in a general sense, I think that's what's going on. Are we really backtracking in history? Yeah, clearly that's what's happening.
Happy to hear that Twitch doesn't care when you say that trans people, the trans ideology
The LGBT
is divisive. That's great. That's really good. Yes. Really good.
like, people have like much stronger feelings on the trans issues than they do about gay issues or something like that. Obviously, there's some people that don't like any of it, but in a general sense, I think that's what's going on. Are we really backtracking in history? Yeah.
It's so sad that like there's a 50% chance that chat message was like talking about backtracking the wrong way and then backtracking the right way. Who knows? How can trans ideology be divisive if it's personal? I mean, Asmongold likes to appeal to his audience by saying that he doesn't believe in these things and he believes in equality for all people, except when equality for all people upsets the status quo. And he does that so he doesn't actually have to attribute hateful, bigoted opinions to himself and then pretends like the hateful, bigoted opinions are just divisive opinions and we should just stay away from divisive opinions. As if we've ever made social progress by staying away from divisive opinions. Famously, we just told all of the slaves, guys, you're being just like really divisive. And if you would stop being so divisive, we would free you. It's just, you're being really divisive about this whole like not having personal autonomy or rights of your own and being treated like people. And it's really just, have you thought about the PR on this one? Have you? Have you thought about that? I just don't feel like you're thinking about that. I don't think you're thinking about the feelings of slave owners in this context right now. And I feel like it's very impolite. It's just a little inconsiderate, you know? It's the stop talking about racism and it'll go away vibes. It's like, okay, dude. Okay, dude. Okay. All right. That's not how that works, but okay. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I really don't care if there are any people in here that are like, but I want LGB without the T. You can leave. I don't care. I'm sorry. There is no queer community without the T. You can die mad about it. I'm sorry. You will not sway me on this position.